To let everybody know, the meeting is being recorded, so just to make you all aware, um, anything you say will be recorded, but we're hoping to share this with people who could not be here this evening, so that they have access. And if you need access to the room, it should be available at the bottom. Thank you very much to Marianne, our captain, and to AER for making that possible. And I'm going to ask everyone as we'll still wait a couple more minutes, but go ahead and please mute yourself unless you're actively sharing. That would be great, just so we could minimize the amount of auditory activity. Thank you. And I guess we could just go ahead and get started at this point. And I'm handing the gavel over to Joanne, and I'll be in the sidecar over here trying to work technology. This is a relatively new experience for me with a larger group, so we'll try to make it work. If anybody would like to interject, I guess we could start with the raising your hand, or if you'd like to wave your hand rapidly, and I'll try to view your box. But we'll try to make it all work. And again, if you're not talking actively, if you could leave your microphone muted so that we can minimize the interference, that would be terrific. And Joanne, if you want to get things started, I'll try to put that back up on the screen for the agenda.
Okay.
Ready to have that moved, I can move that as well.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Chris. Thank you and welcome, everybody. Thanks for spending part of your Saturday night with us, if it is Saturday night in your time zone. I'd like to thank the executive board and directors, and if you are here, if you could say hello to everybody for 2018-2020. Chris Tabb.
Hello.
I'm here. Joanne. Justin.
Hi.
Heiser.
Hi, everybody.
Jennifer Duncan.
Everybody.
Ann Zanker.
Hello.
Luann Mason. John McAllister. Maggie Wynn.
Hello.
Claudia Libus, if you have audio. I know she's here, but I know she was having difficulty with audio. Amanda Stoltz.
Hello.
Hello. And Valerie Kirchner.
Hi.
Hello. Thanks so much. And I'd also like to thank the chairs for the past 2 years, the Archives Committee, Ron Kotzek, Awards, Nick Leon, Communications, Susan Landenlock, and shared with Chris Tabb for website. Continuing Ed is vacant. Environmental Access, Janet Barlow. Finance Committee Treasurer, which is Ann Zanger, and Strategic Plan is Chris. Membership Chair is vacant. Nominating and Elections, Mark Carter. Professional Issues, that would be me. And Programming, that would be me too. Chris, would you be willing to serve as parliamentarian?
I would be happy to do my best.
Thanks so much. All right, so the first thing I'd like to do is have a motion to approve the meeting agenda, if you've had time to review it.
Griffin Shirley, so moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second. Justin.
Thank you, Justin. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Sounds like we have it approved. Okay, and the next thing I'd like to do is approve the July 2018 business meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
This is Valerie. I make a motion to
Thank you.
approve.
Do we have a second?
So moved. Griffin Shirley.
Thanks, Laura. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sounds like it passed. All right, very good. All right, so announcements. We are fortunate enough to have the opportunity to have 3 scholarships for students in graduate programs who are either grad students or PhD students. And I believe they are for $2,000 each. And my understanding is that these scholarships will be annual. So if you know of someone, there'll be more information to come later. If you know of someone who might be interested in such a thing, keep your ears peeled for additional information. All right. The consent agenda, the treasurer's report. Do we have any questions?
Joanne, I believe you can entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda and ask for those in favor, those opposed, or those abstaining.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda, sorry. Do we have a motion? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Amanda Stoltz, I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Amanda.
So moved. Griffin Shirley.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Does not sound like we have anyone opposed. Okay. Moving on to old business. I'll just review some of the things that we've accomplished over the past 2 years. We had additions to the Policies and Procedures Manual, created the Strategic Plan Committee to be a standing committee as opposed to an ad hoc committee with updates every 5 years, which includes the chair, chair-elect, past chair as a member of the committee, and the chair leads the committee. We changed the reimbursement process from outside conferences for outside conferences to streamline process. We added the submission date for the last scholarship, and we removed the international committee from the Policy and Procedure Manual due to the creation of the International Services and Global Issues Division. The Transportation Research Board, there were about, I'd say, there's a small group of us, somewhere between 6 and 8 of us who attended. And there are, later on, we'll go over some committee reports. We went there to committee, subcommittee meetings and attended and shared our concerns. We contributed and commented to the revisions of the Code of Ethics and from ACVRAP. And we also created a banner that was supposed to be viewed at the conference, which I have here, more than willing to share when we do meet in person, which lists all of the different committees that are within the O&M division. And it's quite nice, about 6 feet tall. So when we do get together, we'll have to have someone who's taller than me help me show it. All right, before we move on to committee reports, I would like to go back and introduce the new division representatives for the next 2 years. I seem to have skipped that. My apologies. Give me 1 second. All right. And one other thing that I'd like to do before we transition to our new board of directors and executive directors and chairs. So Chris, that's you. I'd like to take a moment to thank you for your patience, sense of humor, as corny as it may be, and willingness to share your knowledge over the past 2 years. Please virtually accept, and I'll read it to you since the photo is not that great, this token of appreciation. So, for all your hard work, gumption, technology skills, and willingness to go that extra mile. So the plaque reads, and I will need to make it larger, sorry. It has the AER logo. It says, presented to Chris Tabb in sincere appreciation for your leadership and dedication as the chair of the Orientation Division for the Association for the Education and Rehabilitation of the Blind and Visually Impaired, 2018 to 2020. And there is a quote for service to others on it. So thank you. Here is your virtual plaque.
Thank you very much, Joanne. Thank you.
Appreciate it. It is a it has a blue marbleized background and it has a wooden frame to it. So when you unpack, I hope that you will place it somewhere that you can look at on occasion. But thank you so much for all your work and in this position. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Joanne, and thank you for being willing to step up and assume the chair position.
My pleasure. And I'd like to now take a moment to introduce the division officers and district directors for these next 2 years. And of course, the committee chairs. So officers, I will be the chair. Rachel Cavallari, sorry, I practiced it. Chris Tabb is the past chair. Jennifer Duncan, secretary. Robert Alamina, sorry if I mispronounced it, will be treasurer. And for our district directors, we have Lona Mason, John McAllister, Maggie Wynn, Claudia Libus, Amanda Stoltz, and Valley Kirchner. All right, and I'd like to also share the committee chairs, archives, Rod, awards, Nicholas Leon has agreed to remain. Communications, media, Susan Lendenlock, website, Chris Tabb, continuing education. If you know someone who is interested in that, let me know. Finance, our treasurer, strategic plan, that would be me. Membership chair, Jennifer Duncan has agreed to take that role. Thanks so much. Nominating and elections committee, Mark Carter. Professional issues will be Rachel Cavallari. Program Committee is also Rachel, and Scholarship is Susan Langendog. All right, I'd like to take a few minutes to have the chairs for the committees share their reports if they'd like to. Susan, would you be able to share with us some information about the Blash Scholarship Committee?
Trying to unmute myself. I don't do Zoom as much as the rest of you. Yeah, I'm happy to. I took this on. Can you all hear me, first of all? Okay, good. I took this on a few years ago, the first year that it came open. Chris was very nice in taking it on because it is a fair amount of work to get the information out and to go through, work with the judges that score the scholarship. And it seems to change from year to year how the information gets to students. So I've worked on a couple of different ways to via listservs and via just emails. This last year, I ended up sending emails directly to every university program to try and get the information out to students. And we did get an increase, but it just seems to vary from year to year. The year that Chris did it, he had a huge number, and I had a small number the next year. Was better this year. But at any rate, we have every year been able to award 2 $1,000 scholarships. In 2019, since we have to talk about two years of scholarship winners at our business meetings, in 2019, we had 2 winners, Heather Winthrow from Texas Tech University and Julie Heil from Texas Tech, also from Texas Tech University. So good for them. This year, we had 2 winners, Brittany Larkin from the University of Pittsburgh and Sherry Hoffert from Salus University. So it's nice to see that we have some different universities from year to year. It's been an interesting process. It's nice to talk to students who, particularly this year, by the time that they received their notification that they had won, everybody was in lockdown, everybody was in shutdown. And so hearing from them, their challenges in their internships, because usually the students are at that point of their program, it was nice. I make sure I call the winners, and it's just been very nice to be able to talk with them and get them their checks. I know that AER has also started a scholarship for, I don't know if it's dedicated to teachers and to O&M, but it's just really nice to be able to getting more money out to the students because I know education costs so much. And I will be continuing to do this for the foreseeable future. And thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Susan, for all your time and dedication to this committee. I appreciate your work.
Joanne, I had asked to give a report on the newsletter, but I didn't see that on the agenda. Can I take a second for that?
I thought I had it on here, but yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I also have been doing the division newsletter for the last several years, and it's been an interesting learning curve for me. It was something I hadn't done before. I guess I would like to hear from the membership. Is this still a form of communication that is useful for you? I always try to send out an email in e-blast to the membership asking for updates, announcements. Sometimes I get something, sometimes I don't. We very rarely get feedback from the membership until the issue that we did this summer that included a lot of the remote learning opportunities. And Joanne did get an email from someone that said it was extremely useful. And I know people are struggling right now, but I'm just wondering if this is still something that is useful to people. Would we rather go into something more digital, more information on Facebook? Should we look at, I don't use a lot of social media. Should we look at a different social media platform? I just wonder if the people that are on today, I'm happy to continue doing the newsletter. It's been an interesting new skill for me to learn, but not if it isn't something that's being looked at by the membership.
This is Chris, and from this perspective, I think it would there's benefits to going into let's say an all digital format with like a web page where when a news story comes up, you could post it. The challenge with since we've gone away from having the paper version, the challenge with doing that is that we no longer have an archive. I really enjoy being able to go back and look at something from a previous year, a previous edition. And if we did it like, like posts on either a social media or a web page, that the benefit of being able to have an archive, I think that would disappear. So,
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. So I'm happy to keep doing it. It's enough of a job that if it isn't a benefit to the membership, I just as soon give it up. But if it's a benefit, and I completely agree with the sense of history, because I see now that I'm in the very far reaches of the end of my career, which is not ending anytime soon, but is certainly out there. I see sometimes even in Michigan, where my reaches are closer, the lack of the history. And when I was chair of the division, I felt an extreme lack of history. And so I think from the people, from Kevin Hollinger, that was my chair when I was chair-elect, and Chris, as you know, we've gone into yours, and Justin, we really talked with each other about the sense of keeping some continuity. And you shouldn't have to start this over every 2 years. There needs to be a history. And I think years ago there was, in some years past there wasn't. And I'm just so proud of the division, the way that it's kept the history going and the communication between the chair-elect, the chair, and the past chair. I think that's really, really important. And I'm happy to keep doing the newsletter with that thought in mind.
Just another thought to piggyback on. I know that Rod has been looking for historical information for individuals who may have retired, who have cleaned out their offices, and they have documents that they would like to share, whether in photographic form or scanned documents, so that we can maintain the history of the division. So I think that's another way to maintain archives with the newsletter.
And Joanne, just to let you know, Eileen has her hand up. Both
Yes, I
physically.
see. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that you are currently archiving the newsletters, but there should be some system in place to do that, to be sending them to the archives. I know when I did my office, and I checked with them and worked with Michael Hudson on sending things to the archives. So, and I had newsletters all the way back to AEBH, AWB. And so they have a listing of a lot of our documentations and is available. They're not in the office right now, but they have been really helpful with putting some things together. So, and they have all the Long K news and a lot of that information. But if you don't know where that information is, it's hard to get to it. To even approach them about having it. But I definitely support the idea of continuing the newsletters. I think we have to check, though, to make sure that people are getting them, because sometimes I get them and sometimes I don't get them. In fact, I even checked with AER to make sure I was still a member, because there seems to be, and I don't know how you can check with your members, but there seem to be some glitches with doing things the way we're doing it through the internet, that I'm not sure all of the members are even getting the newsletter.
And that's true, but we do also put them up on the website. I don't know that people think to check the website. We obviously can't keep the entire history of the newsletter editions on the website, but they are there. You know, possibly what I could do when we have a new edition out is that I could also post on the Facebook page, you know, just try multiple ways to make sure people know that the newsletter is out there.
Good idea. Yeah, that'll be excellent, Susan.
Thanks.
Hi, Susan, it's Valerie. I was wondering, do you have a lot of traffic in the listserv? Because you could also just let folks know that the newsletter's coming out. If you have any ideas or suggestions or any events going on in your district, you could also.
I actually do have a blast put, well, I have a blast put out to the membership, but I had not been posting anything on the listserv, so I could do that.
Thank you.
As a side note, I haven't done it, I guess, for 2 years because I just went to look. But on the O&M Outpost website, we do have the newsletters going back to 2009 that are in digital form. And then I'll have to catch up now that Joanne's leading the show. Hopefully I have a little more time to catch up on uploading some documents onto our Dropbox account. So either using Google or Dropbox, we can continue to, and maybe I didn't use the right word when I said archive. They're not held with APH. They're just in a place that in theory people could click to get to.
Susan, do you have anything else? Sorry.
Should they go to the archives at APH?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Eileen had asked if what we have digitally should go to the archives at APH, and that's something I will put on my list to do when I update the website, is to be able to reach out to Mr. Hudson and see if he'd be willing to have them, if he just wants them downloaded, if he wants the link, or what works best for him so that he has access to them.
That'd be great.
Great. So it sounds like we want to maintain the newsletter for historical and for informational purposes. We talked about the communication committee. Chris, do you have anything else to add to the communication committee?
I don't think so. I think I'm just happy that we have the ability to communicate as necessary through many channels that we didn't have a few years ago. So when we have to get the word out quickly, Michelle in AER Central Office has been phenomenal at, as soon as a request goes out, she will send an email. But we also have the ability to send through our social media channels, through Facebook, where there's just over 1,000 followers, and the Twitter for people that watch different channels. And so they're nice ways to be able to share information, whether it's about a conference or about something legislative, or just to solicit information. So I believe that we're trying to keep all those channels of communication open. It's also helped us, I think, to be able to connect with other groups like the Orientation Mobility Specialists Association, to be able to have that collaboration.
Thanks, Chris. Let's talk a little bit about the Strategic Planning Committee. Justin, can you give us would you be able to give us a quick summation?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
So give me 1 second. Okay. So we have met a couple times over the past 2 years, and mainly just discussing what things we have accomplished with the strategic plan and where we kind of need to focus going forward. a lot of our efforts have kind of planned on things that we were going to do going up to the AER conference, and Joanne, myself, and Maggie are all going to be presenting on the strategic plan and things concerning the O&M division for the virtual AER conference next week. So I believe that's on Tuesday evening, if anyone can attend for that. We have been reaching out to members and other people through social media, Facebook and Twitter. The Environmental Access Committee has been pretty active, and again, attending the Transportation Research Board meetings in 2019, 2020. The O&M scope of practice paper we had come out in 2018, and then we wrote a commentary on that in JVIB in 2019. We had a, let's see, also division webinars that we put out over the past 2 years. And we've also been helping to support accreditation for O&M certification, for the comms certification through ACVREP, sorry, and for the Higher Accreditation Council to be accredited through AER as well. And basically continuing to work on those goals, and that'll be a continuing ad hoc committee going forward if anybody would be interested in that. Any questions?
Thanks so much, Justin.
Mhm.
I guess I'll do the Environmental Access Committee. And happy to announce that Meg Robertson will be chairing the EAC committee, and Janet Barlow will be supporting in the background. We did attend TRB, but we've also been doing presentations on accessibility and infrastructure and the built environment. We were fortunate to have been able to attend last year. This year will be very different. It will be entirely virtual, and the meetings will occur committee and otherwise plenary sessions over the course of a month. So it will be a new experience for anyone who is attending. So committee meetings, which is what we primarily focus our attention, will be 1 week, and plenary sessions another, and exhibitors another week. So it will be chunks of time throughout a month. There will be further details, which I don't know yet. We are also fortunate to have support from OMSA and Polera, and from AER, who supported our attendance at TRB last year. We've been answering questions about installation of APS, MUTCD, manual uniform traffic control devices, and few of us are on panels of National Academies of Sciences, and one of us wrote to the Access Board requesting further accessibility on light rail. Are there any questions? Okay. Take a quick look. All right. Sorry about that. Are there any questions or comments from the floor?
And Joanne, are you asking about related to committee reports or moving into from the floor section?
Committee reports, and then I'm going to move into from the floor. Okay. Seeing no questions, are there, Rod, did you have something to say?
Yes.
Go ahead,
I
please.
think, I think by now you figured out I'm not Sue Melrose, what it says on the screen, because I'm using my wife's computer. All right. And also, I'd like to show you that I'm dressed for the occasion.
Very nice.
All right. Archives Committee. We've been getting some materials here and there, but it's kind of been like serendipity or when I can touch somebody. So I think I need to develop a plan where we will make this an active thing rather than a passive thing. History is really important. And you remember the famous quote that if we don't record our history, it will fade from mortal memory of people, and that's the beginning of the end. I'd like to have people get involved, and so that means we would be sending out a questionnaire to people to get them to reach out and get materials. I believe there are a lot of materials out there that we have not found yet. Think back to the pioneers here, Russ Williams, Warren Bledsoe, Father Tom, Doug McFarland, Mary Switzer. There's a lot of people who are important in our history, and there would be documents to support that. For example, back in the mid-60s, I wrote a letter to Mary Switzer complaining that the short-term workshops that they were funding at that time were blocking the efforts of the universities. And it was money going the wrong direction. So Warren Bledsoe happened to be in Doug McFarland's office one day. Mary Switzer came around the corner waving that letter and talking to Doug, and she said, "What about this?" They had a conversation, and Mary decided that no more money would go to short-term O&M workshops, but they would open up more university programs. Well, that's not very well recorded. I think there's materials in HEW, specifically around Mary Switzer's time, that we could get. Also, one of the people that wrote a lot of history was Steve Miyagawa. And I think a lot of you have read the biographies that he has put together of O&M pioneers. And of course, his book, Journey to Excellence. There's another book of interest. Jay Whitehead, the retiring chief, wrote a book about Russ Williams. And it's called Journey Well Traveled. But there is more detail and information in that book than I ever thought was out there. You know, I knew Russ several years and spent a lot of time with him. But the research, the 10-year research that Jay Whitehead did really showed me that there's a lot of things that aren't getting to the archives. So I would propose at this time that I or we would develop a plan and then send the questionnaire out to the membership and get them involved so that they could become archive agents.
So am I to assume that you want to be the first archive agent and then we'll gather them all up? Eileen, you had something to say?
I think with that, I think that's a great idea, but I think you also need to involve Mike Hudson, because many of the articles and materials that you mentioned could very well be in the archives. When I prepared the list of like review journals or JVID or New Outlook, if you remember back to New Outlook, or even the newsletter, the Long Cane News. Mike had so much of what I had that I only sent, he only wanted from me that which he did not have. So I think that if you, Rod, if you have those articles that you, materials you think should be there, you should write a list to Mike to see if they're not already there. And I think some of the problem is that people don't know how to use the archives to go back and see all of that. I went through something that is international. It's an internet service that the APH has used with listing. And I've sent all the IMC journals. They're all there. But if people don't know what's in the archives, it doesn't serve the purpose for their research either. And I know we were doing some research for the new edition for the foundation, and I didn't have those articles anymore. And I wrote to them and said, you know, I don't have the articles that that were printed on the RoboCave. And they copied them and sent them to me. So there's a lot of information already in the archives that need to have some publication to let us know what's there. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the information you mentioned is already in the archives.
True enough. We do need to coordinate very closely with Mike. And also, it would be great if they could put together a compendium of all the materials that are there by subject and by person, so that people could ask to see if it's there before they mail it.
And Barry might will have that.
Yeah.
Because they respond to me quickly when I ask for articles. They've been wonderful with sending copies digitally.
I'm hearing somebody's wonderful musical tone. That's a good reminder that
Yeah, guilty.
we've got about.
Shut it off. Sorry.
I'm glad you kept us thinking about time too, Rod. Thank you. I just wanted to let everybody know, because we are trying to squeeze different things into this one event, we'll say, going from the business meeting into the awards, into the discussion meeting. I just wanted to remind everybody we're going to try to wrap things up by 6 o'clock, so people have 15 minutes to take a biology break or whatever you'd like to before we move into the awards.
Yeah, even a hamburger break.
Or a hamburger break, definitely.
For those of us in a different time zone, it'll be 7 o'clock.
Sorry, Joanne. Thank you.
No worries. And for those of you in Pacific time, it's even earlier. Are there any other comments from the floor? Any other concerns that we need to discuss?
This is Chris. It's not a concern, but an item that I would like to include as part of the business meeting. I would like to recognize our Newcomer Hill Award winner, which is Joanne. And Joanne, I would just like to say thank you very, very much for all the work that you've done. I'm going to say over the past 2 years, but it's beyond that. But in the past 2 years, all that you've done for the Environmental Access Committee, certainly serving as chair-elect, leading things like our Support Canes Committee, and taking a lead role in all different areas. It's been a tremendous help and has really kept things moving. So congratulations. I don't know if you have your plaque with you that you can share in front of your camera.
It's funny you should ask.
There we go. So Joanne is this year's, this biennium's recipient of the Newcomer Hill Award. And again, thank you so much, Joanne, for all that you've done. When it talks about being, having served with commitment and dedication, that your efforts have gone far beyond that. And I am very grateful and appreciative for all your hard work. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you, Chris. It's been an honor and privilege to serve as a member of the O&M division and a member of the EAC. It's also been my pleasure to work with some exceptionally dedicated, passionate professionals. And thanks again for the honor. And by the way, just an FYI, thank you. This is similar format to how Chris's plaque will look. So it is a fake wood background with a marbleized blue insert, which has the O&M division logo with it a little bit different in the insert, which is in gold or bronze, depending on how you see the color. With that note, we have a few more minutes to go, but if there are any other comments or questions rather than concerns, it's the Canadian in me. I'd be open to talking about anything you'd like to. Chris, you look like you would like to say something.
I would, because one of the things that when we, I know we won't meet again, nothing personal, but I'm going to say hopefully not like this. Hopefully we can meet in person in 2 years. But just what I'm aware of is that we are continuing to plan for having the next meeting. It's almost like it's postponed for 2 years, but everything will be continuing as was originally intended for this year to be in St. Louis. And I believe that there are things in motion for AER to share some of the presentations that were planned for this year in a virtual format, although that's still being worked out. And when that will happen and how that will happen is still developing. But many people who submitted proposals to do presentations will still be able to do their presentations. It'll just be in a different delivery system like this. Hopefully they'll be recorded so that people have access to them that couldn't attend directly. I guess for anyone thinking forward, please plan that in 2 more years, we'll be in St. Louis, hopefully in person, hopefully without a pandemic, and be able to go from there. Susan, I see your hand up.
Yeah. Chris, I just know that there has been a tremendous turnover of staff, including executive director, including office manager, office people. Can you say anything about what you know about what's going on in the main office at AER?
I can, but I would have to mute myself and hold my hand in front of my mouth.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, I can't. I would love to be able to. I've learned so many things as serving as chair that I didn't know existed.
Well, and I have too, just in interactions. I mean, I was sorry to see Angela go. I was sorry to see Nana go. I'm emailing with people I don't know. I understand there's a new person, Danielle, and our executive director is an interim. It just seems shaky, and I know that we are the strongest division. We could even be a standalone if we needed to be, but we've always been under AER, and I hope that we continue to be.
What I can tell you is that all of the things that were in place for this year, as far as I know, are going to continue in 2 years. So the whole idea of working for the contract with a hotel and all the human work hours that would go into that, that's already done. So basically,
Okay.
You took that, you went forward. So all of those things that Angela worked so hard at preparing, that's already in place. There are certainly going to be changes. I don't know who the next executive director is. I just know that they had a large number of people apply, like triple-digit numbers.
Oh, great.
And so
Oh, that's wonderful.
I don't think there's any shortage. And then even after they called out who met the requirements or the, the minimum requirements, there was still a triple-digit number. So there are lots of people who are, I guess, interested in that position. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. But what I do know is that the people who are continuing on the board and those that are coming onto the board are, again, passionate people. And Laura, I see your hand. Just as an example, Neva Fairchild will be stepping into that role of executive.
I saw that.
President, and she's just a smart cookie. She
Oh, yeah.
knows the history of AER. She has a very strong, she can be gentle and strong. So I think she's got both things that she needs to be nurturing, as well as if she needs to go in and stir the pot, she can do that too. So I feel very good about how we will be led over the next 2 years. And Laura?
Thank you.
I just misunderstood the announcement. I thought Neva was the new executive director. That's not true. So, yeah.
No, no,
stepping in as president, correct?
President, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
President, or will be, I don't know exactly. I can't remember when all the dates occur now, but I believe that she is just transitioning as president now. And Alaya Landavillard is becoming the president-elect. And Emily will stay on as the past president. And so there's a lot of experience that's moving forward. I know that Mark Reichert, our current interim executive director, has infused lots of really wonderful things. Just as an example, wants to develop basically an online learning platform so that we can take some of these things that we're going to be delivering. They will live, we'll say, in the internet. And I'm hoping that it will be something that people avail themselves of more than when we used to go in and we'd record sessions and we'd sell them. I don't know, I'm guessing some of you remember that, but there was audio recording that went and you'd buy your pass to listen to it for a year. I'm hoping that this will be something more where people can go in, get the information, but I believe it's also going to be used to, I don't know what it would be called, but we've talked about things like when we used to have the airlift, where we could really work to develop our professionals that are, their capacity for leadership. And so I believe that there's an effort to help to develop new leaders that are willing to step forward to do some of the volunteer work, for lack of a better way to put it, to be of service to the organization and to other professionals, but there will be ways to help them to develop professionally as well. So I'm hoping that those things will continue to fruition. There's other things like, I don't know what I'm allowed to say and not say. So I'm just going to say some things and they might impale me. So there's work on a new journal to kind of bring back the review, which will now have a new name, the New Review. But so there's lots of different things that are in process or in progress that I think will be helping to bring new energy to AER that aren't there yet, but are in the works.
Thanks, Chris. And also throughout this month, I believe there will be different webinars that are available that you can tune into. I'll be presenting with Justin and Maggie on the strategic plan, and also with Maggie on the support canes, where do you stand? So if you're interested in tuning in, they are both next week at around 4:30 Eastern time. And we are looking for input and information to share and to help move things forward. Are there any other, is there anyone who'd like to speak from the floor?
I have a question. Technologically, I'm going in and out, but I'm hoping it's stable. Can we just stay on rather than going?
You can stay on.
Okay.
There won't be any elevator music. I'm sorry. Maybe I can figure out how to do that. But we're gonna kind of just reconvene here 15 minutes after the.
But we can just stay on, because if I go off, I don't think I'll get back on.
Yes, you can stay on.
Okay.
I just have a comment to let you know that within AER, we have the Accreditation Council, and that's been very active and very strong. And, you know, that's a vital part now of the whole AER is the Accreditation Council. Lots of information up on the website under accreditation if you're interested in learning more about that.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thanks, Eileen. Are there any other, does anyone else have anything to share?
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
This is Rod. We're in a thunderstorm and I just got notice that the internet is unstable, so I might get knocked out here.
And just so everybody knows, if something does happen and you are timed out or it disappears, you can rejoin with the same link that you used before. And so hopefully it'll just be kind of transparent in the background. Sorry for any interruptions in the communication, but hopefully you can just rejoin when your signal allows you to do that.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
And Joanne, as parliamentarian, I'll let you know that you can entertain a motion to adjourn at any point if people are finished.
I was going to entertain, I was going to tap dance, but I thought that might be too much. So I'm just going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, it's Laura.
I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, Laura.
I just said so moved, that's all.
Okay, sorry. Sometimes I don't hear quite that well in this mode.
problem.
My family's on, so can we tell them when they're gonna start again? Just stay on.
We are resuming at 15 minutes after the hour, depending on which hour you're in.
Is there a second motion to adjourn?
I second.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're
Go for it, Justin.
All right. I believe we are adjourned. Do we have to vote on it, Chris?
Oh, sure. Let's do that. All in favor?
Do that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Doesn't look like it. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you so much. We'll be
See ya.
back at 15.
We'll rejoin here 15 minutes after the hour. You're welcome to stay on if you want. You can pause your video and mute your mic if you want, or you can leave it active.